morning. Good morning. What are we all doing? I'm feeling a little sleepy. We had a windy night and a travel day yesterday. We're at a new place. Let's see, we are at, I wrote it down because, man, I can't think of all this stuff. We're at Crescent Bar, Thousand Trails Crescent Bar, and still in Washington, but much more inland. We're on the, oh man, I wish I could show you the views. It's beautiful here. We're on the Columbia River, on a bend of the Columbia River. And uh, right now I'm looking right into a mirror that's looking out the bedroom window. And I can see two small mountain ranges that come together where the river goes through them and another mountain in the background. It's just beautiful. That's beautiful. It's cloudy today with sporadic sun, off and on sunshine. Okay, let's see. This morning we are going to be doing, let's see, this one. I'm going to make it just a little bit larger here for you so you can see. Doo, doo, doo. There's Mount Baker. This one is, I'll show you. I'm not too happy with it, but I'm going to tell you, I would tell you if I could remember which one this this notebook was. Here's the one I did in the sketchbook. This book really is crummy paper, man. But I shouldn't have started it, but I hate to stop without finishing one. So I'm going to keep going and just using it for notes. Um, Mount Baker, that's the one. I'm going to go ahead and put the drawing up here for you. Baker Large, let's get that going. We can close this off. And I'll switch this one over. There you go. So you can start drawing if you want to. I have you can maybe see over in the corner here, I have my paper taped down already. I've taped off a corner of it. And I am using this Pro Artist tape. It's called PRO. I don't know, can you see that at all? No? Pro Artist tape. And I'm going to go ahead and draw another one. I'll give you a moment with this. If you want to take a picture of it, that's a good idea. You can photograph it with your phone and then have the drawing there a little closer to you. These sketches sometimes look like coloring books, but hopefully we're painting them a little differently than you would in a coloring book. Okay. Bigger one. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna make that just a little bit larger there. And here you go. I'm gonna close this big one off. And I'm gonna go ahead and draw one. You can either watch me draw one, or you can just stare at the pattern and try and complete that. It doesn't have to match mine exactly. Did everybody dip your brush into Get a little water container and put a few drops on each of the colors in your palette here. You know, drip, drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop. Make sure that your paints are soaking, getting a little bit of soaking going on. How is everybody today? You're doing all right? These are so weird. I hope that when you watch this afterwards, you'll put a comment in the comments. If you're not watching it live, then put a comment. We're traveling and we had such a hard time. We don't have a lot of people watching, but we had a heck of a time when we first started doing this. I really did not anticipate the challenge, some of the challenges. Certainly didn't anticipate getting the Wi-Fi run over, but stuff happens. I think I'll start right about here. Now let's start with this lower tree because if you look at the drawing, this tree, the one furthest to the left, is in front of the other one. This scene actually exists. Sherry and I went up to Picture Lake, and um, after we did some reference shots there, we weren't able to go ahead and paint at that location. But after a few reference shots there, we went on up to this view of, I believe this is Mount Baker. And you don't have to do yours exactly like mine. It's better if you leave some bigger holes than I did. You know, I made that one look almost like a perfect Christmas tree. And the truth is, trees are not perfect. You know, we tend to draw them that way. But a lot of pine trees have different size here. What'd you need, hon? Your phone. Sherry's been taking care of all the other stuff for me so I could get this started. So she's a little behind this morning because she took the dog while I set this stuff up in the camper. I would love to have done this broadcast outside, but it's predicted to rain today, so off and on. And then, now down here like this, I'm going to show you here. I'll show you here. See where the ground is right behind these trees right here? So we want to we don't need to do anything there, but you might put a little something here. And that way you have a guiding line. This one's a little higher up. As you can tell, I put mine way higher up than the original there. And in fact, I think I'll bury that. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on the edge. I'm going to try to bury that line with paint, and I'm going to use this line as it's a little lower down. And then, so these trees, this tree right here, see this tree? These trees right here are off the cliff. They're over the edge of that. So when you sketch those trees, they end right there at the cliff. We're just doing these trees in a very rough style. We'll do some lessons. We've done them, a lot of my students that I do when we do live. We've done whole lessons on trees, and we'll try and do some more of that. Get some more tree in here. You don't have to make trees equilateral either. The branches on the left may not match the branches on the right. Poor Sherry, she's trying to manage the other stuff in the camper. Yeah. Like, for instance, the dog. You can hear the dog in the background. She wants in, she wants out. And Sherry's trying to paint along with us, but I'm not sure she's going to be able to today because things are just so much of an effort here. She's your dog today, honey.
What's the name of this one?
This one is called Mount Baker. Now we have a tiny tree right here, a smaller one. Let's see if I can put something in here. And it should come down a little bit toward the campground. Things should settle down now. The dog is inside next to me, sleeping on laying on her little rug. We have a very finicky dog. This tree, a big one here, is obviously you just see part of it, so you can come out with it like this. Come out with pieces, make some. You could make this piece really skinny here and this piece fatter. You can go back in. You can come out. You can. I'm just doing a wiggle line. I'm not doing much of anything really important here, just to give myself some kind of a guideline. And that's kind of why it looks like I guess kind of like a coloring book, these drawings. So everybody have some trees there. And most importantly, did you say hi to your neighbor and do you have your tea ready? Hmm. Yeah, we're an hour earlier than Mountain Standard, where I'm used to broadcast or used to working, and because we're on the West Coast. Well, we're not on the coast anymore. We just spent a week up in the Puget Sound area. Oh my God, a little over. Well, actually, we were there more than that. We were there, I guess, about 10 days, something like that. Maybe even a little more. Anyway, what a beautiful area that was. Just amazing. Where was I? Oh, this line right here. See this one? That's a ridge of a mountain that's kind of like just barren with a few trees in it. And so let's see, I'm going to come out of this one. Let's just do it up here a little bit. You can see my drawing here doesn't even match the other one. You could go up and down like that. And then the mountain itself comes out back here. And from this viewpoint, we could see a couple of two little humps. These humps, the mountain itself or the peak, is about the same as the Sandias back where we live, the Sandia Mountains. Only difference is I'm in height. They're about the same. Little over 10,000 feet, between 10 and 11,000 feet. The difference is, I think, is that these mountains basically you start climbing. I mean, where we were camped was almost at sea level, and uh, although the ground around the peak, as you drive up, it goes up several thousand feet. So the peak is probably only like 5,000 feet high. It feels much taller because where we are, the land is 5,000 feet high. So the peak itself goes up from the city, basically, 5,000 feet. It just kind of feels higher. But I still don't understand quite. These are Mount Baker's like a glacier mountain. If I'm not mistaken, it has glacier on it still that is almost 300 feet thick. And it's obviously receding, but at the time we were there, which was late September, early August, what is the date today? The 10th, something like that. Today's the 11th. And we just got here at this location last night. So we were still there yesterday. We traveled. So on the August the 9th, we were there. And it looked like this painting. It was still had snow and glacier and uh, and the peaks around it were the same. We're going to put a little something in here in this ground, and we're going to come up here with some random little tree things out here in the distance. Let's see, how did that go? There's another long one that comes up here. Little trees. They're way out there, those trees. They're way far away from us. And these dark ones on the snow-covered part here are just rock. They're not really trees, I don't think. They're just rocks out there. Let's see. I think this is what my writing here says, that I think this is the north side of Mount Baker. But you can see Mount Baker from, for instance, you could see it from, it's not Astoria. What's the name of that town? I'll think of it in a little while. I do apologize for the lighting in here. It's pretty, I don't have any special lights. And when I turn the interior lights for the trailer on, they're very bright. So, and then we have deep shadows. So I've done everything I can to remove the shadows, but it does leave the whole scene and my face a little dim. And I am going to go ahead and put up the sketch, and you can continue to draw, but use the using the sketch as your the painting as your guide. Hopefully you got your real estate, your hill here that we were standing on, a little bit lower than mine. I put mine pretty high. I probably should have brought these trees down. But here's the thing with painting, with these paintings, I'm going to tell you something. No matter how you do it, if you do it a little goofy like this, or if your trees don't look quite right, or you get the mountain misshapen, it's still a painting. If you finish it, take it home. Don't be hard on yourself. Take it home and let it have a life of its own. If it's in your sketchbook, obviously you don't have to show it to anybody if you don't want to. But if you put it on the wall, let it have a life of its own, it becomes a memory, it becomes a thing. They work well. So don't be too critical if yours doesn't look exactly like the painting up there. In fact, probably be better. You might do a lot better than what I did there. All right, where to start? As usual, I'm hoping everybody has a drawing in there. Let's see here. And of course, it doesn't sound like it's going to rain outside. Sherry's out there. Oops, that is not blue. That is purple, which a lot of you may not have. If you get a chance, a couple of things might be good for you. Might have some fun because we may use them in the future. Uh, get some kind of purple. There are several. Any one will work. And um, some kind of alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson is really good if you're doing faces. Really helps with that. And I do like the teal. I use a lot of teal there. Another thing, of course, you can do if you don't want to have to spend a lot of money is to buy those. Okay, I'll see if I have that one here. I don't think these are archival paints, but they should. This is a senior class, and especially if the paints are not near sunlight. If your finished painting's not in the sun, and or if it's in a journal or something, it'll probably outlast well. I'm going to be up there a few years, and I assume that this paintings will probably outlast me if you did them with this kit. This is called a pocket field sketch box. Comes with 12 colors in it. Oh, I prefer these are professional grade paints, and I prefer that, but only because I've worked with them and I know what they're going to do. So let's put a little bit of a mountain in there. If you have some teal, you can add it to the ultramarine blue, but you really don't have to. What you do need to do, though, is as you're painting your sky, however you're going to do it, if you're going to dry brush it and leave some cloud effect in there, you don't want to paint the mountain because a lot of it's going to be white. So you want to leave that unpainted. But when you do go, you can go right through these trees because they're going to be pretty dark. And that only works, though, if you are painting a sky that's fairly light. Don't make your painting, your mountain or your sky really dark. You can see I'm putting in some sky holes here. Where the sky holes would be, that's the objective of painting over the tree. Is that when you do put some sky holes in your green tree, that they show up. We'll let that start drying. 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 You can, as you come down, if you really want to make a little bit nicer, I could have put teal in this lower edge here, mixed a little bit of teal with my ultramarine blue. And it just, skies get lighter as they come down toward the horizon generally. And they also turn slightly, well, it's kind of a green, kind of a light green. So you make it lighter and put just a touch of teal in with your ultramarine blue. But we're going to let that sky start to dry. This one's it's not too difficult. Of course, I suppose these all depend on where you're at in your art journey. Some of the stuff that I struggle with, I know that a lot of pros would say that's not too difficult. But I've been noticing lately that I have fallen off. I used to do gesture drawings, and I need to get back at it because I just don't draw people nearly as well as I was. I'm not making any progress with my people drawing skills. I'm going to take a little bit of this This is yellow ochre. And I think I'm going to mix in a little bit of lemon yellow. Just a little, because I want this foreground, ground part of it to be pretty bright. And on this one, I always tell you this, but I don't do much of it. I'm going to go ahead and do some dry brush effect and just leave it there. Just to put some interest since I have this big chunk of ground. Now I'm going to keep changing it up. I'm adding a little bit more of the yellow ochre here so that there's movement in my foreground hill here. I'll go back to some of that lemon yellow. That's mixed in. It's mixed. The lemon yellow is mixed with the yellow ochre. Let's go ahead and put a little in there. The only reason we can get away with putting paint into the trees is that the trees are so dark. The lighting just on this situation was just made for some very, very dark trees. If you do put some, try and put your movements and things to kind of focus the eye into your painting. Let's go ahead and put a little bit more over here. Start to dry. Sounds like someone's got their motorhome or camper starting up to probably to move. People do this. They stay, I think you can stay up to 21 days in one location and then you have to move. So they move to another location 30, 40, 50 miles, 60 miles away and stay there 21 days and then come back. Mm. And just they live like that. We looked at a truck yesterday. Sherry and I were out for a walk here in the campground when we first got here. And there was a nice pickup truck. The guy was out there wiping it off. And it had Florida plates on it. And we talked to him a little while, come to find out he and his family have been living in that large trailer for 3 years. And they were traveling with friends who had been living in their trailer for 5 years. Pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and take some more ultramarine blue here. Ultramarine blue and just a little bit of the burnt umber. Oh, I got too much. Hope you have your little, like I say every time, I seem to repeat myself constantly. I use Carhartts, my old t-shirts, for a paint rag here, and it makes it very nice to have a place to just dab off some material and move on. So I've got a pretty dark gray here, and I'm just going to throw in some spots here. I don't want it to be just a big solid line because it's just to represent some rock pieces that might be sticking out from the glacier or the snow. And I could have been more literal, copied the actual glacier pattern that was there. It's similar, but for me, these paintings are memories, places Sherry and I have been, what we saw along the way, things we did. And so I'm not too concerned about, I want it to resemble a thing, but I'm not too terribly worried about serious details. I'm going to let that part dry up. And then we'll come back and put in a few of the things that are kind of a shadow where the snow is in beginning to be in shadow. Another way you can do this, you can paint the whole mountain in a very faded light blue and leaving some white highlights here and there. That works very well. But I didn't do that in this case. Okay. I think my sky is getting dry. Is yours? I'm using a Princeton Heritage number 10 right now, although I think I used this one, number 12, same thing, Princeton Heritage, for my sky, and a Princeton Heritage number 8 for any small details if I need it. So on these trees, let's see, I'm going to make this one on the left just a little bit lighter, then I'm going to make this one really dark. So I'm going to mix a light color here for this one. Not really light, just lighter. So I'm going to just go right into that ultramarine mix that I have that, what's that called? Burnt umber in. And I'm going to add a substantial amount of azo green or sap green. And I'm getting a green there. You may want to have a little, I don't always use them, but I probably should, little test strip so you can see how dark or if it's dark or if it's green. To see if it's something that you're happy with. And the only thing I'm not happy with is the amount that I have here. I'm going to need a little bit more than that for this project. Put a little more blue in there, a little ultramarine blue. And a touch more burnt umber. Test it. Whoa, that's pretty dark. We'll make that a little thinner. And just another touch of the green. When you do these trees, first of all, you don't have to do the tops, that little top piece. You can do it with some color, like a brown, a light burnt sienna. And I have this material very thick on my brush. You don't have to do that. If you put too thick a material, it takes away the, I don't know, just makes it look like you colored it in or you did it in some pasty material. But if you just go down the bush or the tree slowly, you don't have to hit your lines. You're just kind of slowly building a tree in that area that you described with your pencil, or in my case with a fountain pen. And I'm leaving some sky holes, letting the sky show through in some areas. I could have come further down with that sky, huh? I'm going to have some white areas there. And as we get toward the bottom here, there it's darker, for one thing. But it's also doesn't have as many holes in it because there's stuff behind it that's also dark. Now, mine is still wet. I'll show you something here in just a minute. We may even come back with a little bit more wet or dark here in a little while. But right now, what I can do is oops, excuse me. Trees bump the table there. They're not always just dead. A lot of times I see a little burnt sienna, little brown in there, or a little yellow ochre that shows up here and there to give it some movement. And while that tree is drying, I'm going to go ahead and work on, let's see, let's do this tree right here. So with that one, I'm going to make that one kind of light just for the fun of it, because what I'm trying to do is get some movement in my sketch. So this one will be light, this will be dark, this big one will be dark, and this one will be light. Is that, do you see that? Can you catch that movement there, that variation? I'm going to go mostly with the, I think I have azo green in mind. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to add just a little of this cadmium yellow to it, just a touch to see. And I'm going to go with the same kind of a thing, although before I did this, I really should. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here that I did there, just making it look like a tree. And we're going to have a little bit of an oddball thing going on, because when we come back to paint this ground, you can paint that ground and then paint the tree over it. But with watercolor, unless you're going to mask everything off, which is, I don't do that. I don't care for masking. I don't think there's a need to be that literal, at least with my stuff. You may have situations where there is, I mean, there are serious pieces of work where you had to mask it off. But I think before I did that, I would probably use watercolor to put the base down and then come back with some gouache. Well, see how the tree is, it's there and it's wet, it's damp. So what I'm going to do while it's damp, I'm going to darken just a corner here with a little tiny bit of ultramarine blue, and just put a little bit of movement here and there. What I was talking about is, if you darken that background, a lot of the problem is the fact that this background's darker. It's not dark in that you can see on the painting it's not dark, but it'll make it very difficult to make the tree light. It will make it so. While that is there, I'm going to go ahead and do this light tree here. you can, the way is to come off with a little speckle here and there, right? You can always add those things just to create a little bit of looseness. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add just a little bit of red or red ultramarine blue while it's still damp, so it kind of melds in. And I might put just a little touch of burnt sienna here and there. The light one. I'm going to come back and put in that little bit of tree branch there, a little bit there. Oh, I can do this one. Remember what we're working here, and I encourage everybody to get involved in urban sketchers. That just there's a lot of local groups. There's over 4,000 of them worldwide, and they're just a terrific organization. It's a nonprofit. It's free to join, and it's a lot of here in the United States. The predominantly um, a lot of the people are my age or older. They're 55, 60, 70. Some octogenarians even. And there's some, you'll get college age students in there, architects and things like that. But a lot of the people, uh, since they all levels of art are accepted, all levels. So wherever you are on your art journey, they're glad to have you. So there'll be, like I say, there'll be someone there that's a seriously experienced artist, and there'll be people there that just wanted something to do on that day, apparently, that kind of thing. I'm gonna let these trees dry up just a little bit. Get a clean brush here. I think the mountain's getting pretty dry. So with the mountain, what I'd like to do is I'm gonna take just a little bit of ultramarine blue and maybe a touch of one of those two uh, um, burnt twins, burnt sienna or burnt umber. And I'm just going to put in a few little, I like it better if it's on the bluish side. I made that one a little too grayish. In fact, I'm going to dab a little bit of that. Just, here we go. Maybe that one. And then come back. This is still a little too dark. It's a very light little movement in the mountain, where there might be some shadows. Just don't make them all the same. If you make one, make it bigger, some littler. And you don't have to cover the whole area. Still a little dark there. I'm going to pull off just a touch of material so that it's kind of faded there. Made mine, I think, a little busy, but maybe I'll put just another dab right here so that there's something on this side of the mount of the tree and something on this side. Okay. The hill back here. Let's see, where's my book? This hill shows up completely differently in the photograph. You can see it shows up much lighter. It's kind of got a little bit of dark to it. You can do it either way. You can make it light, like the one that you're seeing on the screen, or a little bit darker, like the one here in my book. In reality, it's a little bit darker like this. It's rock. It's like dark mountain without vegetation on it. But it looks pretty cool, a little bit lighter. So you can choose which way you want to go with it. I'm going to test a color here and see what it looks like to me. I want it a little darker than that. So I'm using burnt sienna and light touches of ultramarine blue to slightly gray it off a little bit. And I'll go ahead and just go right in there. And those background trees that are way over there on the back of that hill are super dark. So I'm not worried about going right over them. Am I going a little too fast here? Quickly. Try and slow down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go because this tree is going to be pretty dark. And this tree is going to be dark. And my tree here, I think, has dried up quite a bit. So I'm going to put some mountain right into it. I'm also going to just make a little bit darker mixture, just a hair darker, and put some movement back in here every once in a while it's still damp, so it's fading in. This tree is going to be very dark, so I'm going to just go ahead and put some of that mountain in there. We did a little hiking when we were there, but nothing like we would like to. There's a lot of hikes in this area. Another thing we didn't do that I would have liked to have done, but you can't do it all. It's just there's so much when you visit these areas. There's so many opportunities to do things and enjoy yourself. And but if you know the author Jack Kerouac, these are in the Cascades, the Cascade Mountains, and Gary Snyder and Jack Kerouac, but Gary Snyder a lot more. Gary Snyder is a mountain guy. He spent a lot of time in these mountains. But Jack Kerouac, the guy who wrote the book On the Road, he was friends with Gary Snyder at one point and stayed with him. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they both, well, I know Gary Snyder was a fire lookout on the tops of peaks. He would go to the top and stay there for months looking for fires with nothing but a radio back in the day that there were no cell phones. And so he would have a radio and a lot of supplies and stay there looking over to be able to report any forest fires that he saw. Jack Kerouac did the same thing one time, and it was on a mountain called Desolation Peak. I think it's Desolation Peak. It might be Desperate or anyway, that peak is there in that part of the Cascades, and we did not take the time to go there as we had just a lot of things to do, a lot of opportunities. We weren't by any means stressed. There's way more to do than you can possibly do. Oh, I think I had a ball. We tend to have a good time wherever we go. Sorry about the noise there. Is everybody getting something on their page? Give you a minute to make sure everybody has caught up or is doing something. This video will be on YouTube for a while. If you know something about Jack Kerouac or Gary Snyder while they were in that area, or you'd like to comment about their poetry or Snyder's poetry, um, Kerouac's narrative writing, leave something in the comments. I really enjoy that subject, so I, I happen to I have a light crush on the Beat Generation. So if you've read On the Road, or if you know of Gary Snyder's poetry, or any of the other beats, they doodle. Oh. Is everybody getting caught up? I am searching. If you're hearing a bunch of noise, I am searching through the backpack here. Here is what I was looking for. I could not think of Diane DePrima's name. And I had taken that with us when we went to Friday Harbor. Diane DePrima, another Beat Generation poet that I like. And so if anybody knows anything about Diane DePrima, you can comment as well. I'm making a much darker color now. A group of pigment here. I've got ultramarine blue, burnt umber mixture. You can throw in sap green because you want it to have just a little bit of a green tint to it. And I'm going to start doing these darker trees back here. Remember to just be light with the tip of your brush. And you're just trying to in your mind, if you can envision a pine tree, don't worry, don't get scared. Just start thinking about the shape of a pine tree in your mind. Now, that's another thing I didn't do is to make these exactly the right kind of pines that are in this area. Because oof, certainly you could do that if you're a travel sketcher, that's a great thing to do. Or if you want to sketch in your area and you can, let me interject this, you can mix in a little brown here and there to put in a little movement. On this trip, we have seen so many different trees, so many different Not only deciduous trees, but evergreens. Oh my gosh, I had no idea there was such a variety of evergreen trees. You know, I've spent most of my life in New Mexico, and we do have them. We have nice little pine trees, several kinds, and spruce trees, and but holy mackerel, I had no idea there were so many different ones. Some that come all the way to the ground, some that don't come to the ground. Deep, dark forests here. And I'm going to go with that same kind of mixture for all of my darker trees. Also, for anybody who watches this video after the fact, uh, comment if you would. Let me know what kind of background noise, if any of it's a problem. For instance, there is a light fan running because we need to bring in some cooler air. The trailer heats up, and um, the air conditioner is so loud. If I've turned it on, you would not hear me. You would only hear the roar of the air conditioner because we're in an R pod, very small trailer uh, to do what we do. And as many of you know, on this trip we have gone. We're well into our 4th month now, and we have started out in Flagstaff, Arizona, to the San Diego area, then spent time up in Acton, if you know where that is, and went to LA and spent time there, and went to Ventura, which I really like Ventura. It's a kind of laid back area, really nice, simple, more bohemian, more, I think, kind of my style. Um, and we just visited a lot of places. I mean, we spent time in Pismo Beach, for instance. We were there for a week or so. Actually, more than that, 10 days in that area. Drove our car out, or the truck, out onto the beach, and picked picked shells and watched the sunsets and did things like that. Hiked up on sand dunes and overlooked the ocean and had a great time. And we were in Carmel by the Sea and Monterey, and 10 days or so in the San Francisco area, visiting, doing things there. And now we're just starting to work our way down the interior of the other side, not necessarily the interior of the United States, because that's, I guess, further over. But we're kind of we're still in Washington, but we're headed toward, we'll be in Washington another 2 weeks, I think, week and a half. And then we head toward Idaho, clip the bottom edge of Montana. Sadly, I would have liked to have spent some more time in Montana, but it's just too much on this trip. We even have a friend in Montana that we both love to visit, and I don't think we're going to get the opportunity to. If you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just using that darker color, and when it comes to the light tree, I'm trying to leave the light trees showing So I'm going right into the light trees with the darker color for the background tree, for the tree behind it. And right over this light tree, same thing. Has anybody hiked that area? The Mount Baker area, Desolation Peak? Or there's another one up there that we saw it's called Pitcher Lake, but I can't think of the name of it. So you're out of luck. I still think this area, this back here is a little light, but I'm going to go ahead and put in those tiny trees back there. Oh, let's see. Watch some more just for the fun of it. The alien dad jokes. So if you get a chance to see them, the makeup on those guys or how they do that, I don't know, because they really look so like aliens. Why did the man fall in the well? Have I told you that one before? He didn't see so well. Ha ha ha. I know you're all just rolling over laughing at that one. I understand. Hilariously funny. I'm mixing a pretty seriously dark color for these background trees that are way off in the distance. They're just little teeny. You can barely tell that they're trees and not just some big rocks or something back there. Again, we're just trying to leave a little bit of looseness here and there. Actually, I'm going to make this area a little bit bigger, a little bit more, a few more of them. And then one occasional one here and there. I don't like that this looks like there we go. Was looking too typewritten. Go ahead and go with some light burnt sienna here and put in some tops on some of these trees here and a few trunks here and there, just little pieces. Don't just make a straight line. You don't want it to just indicate that there is, at some point, there's a little branch going through there. You don't have to do them all, do them all. While all that is drying up, I'm going to mix a darker gray over here. A little ultramarine blue, touch of the burnt umber. So I have a fairly dark. Doesn't have to be totally dark. I like it to lean toward the blue side. You can make yours if you have purple. A lot of people like to introduce just a touch of purple and lean there instead of having it have a blue bias, have a purple bias. So what I'd like to do with this color is put in some darker bottoms on some of these, little dark area here and there, and some kind of shadow. That might be a little too dark. So I'm going to put a little bit more water in my material so it's a little lighter. I'll dab this one off a little bit and come back in here and put some shadow material coming this way, just so that we have some movement. You can darken up the bottom of this one a little bit and bring some shadow down here. You don't have to mirror the top of the tree if you don't want to. Just put something in there like that. It's just an indication. I'm actually going to enlarge this one a little bit to make, because this tree is a little taller, right? And you can put a little bit here if you wanted to, the tops of these trees, but you don't have to put those in. And I'm going to put a big one down here so that I'm going to suggest that there are trees here on this side. Give you a few moments to catch up again. Here's another dad joke. Let's see. What do you call someone who has had too much to drink? An Uber. You call them a Uber, taxi. Well, that little blink of a light is when I get out of the way of the living room window in our trailer. The window behind me is lighter than everything. A little more tea. We're getting close on this one. A little bit earlier than normal. I'm going to go ahead and put my signature in here just for the fun of it. You can sign yours. Only reason I'm putting this in here is because I want the ink to dry. And this is 2024. On these small ones, I don't often don't put in, the whole date and everything, the full date. I think the year is good enough to remind me. Mm. As these shadow areas get drier in here, um, as they start to dry, you don't have to wait for them to dry if you don't want to, but you do have to have material that's thicker that's not going to mushroom on you. So I'm taking a little bit darker color right at the base here and letting it kind of just go into the tree a little bit. also going to take a little bit of, I'm just using some yellow ochre, and there was some burnt sienna in the little dish there. And I'm just going to put some little spatter here. And maybe even a mark here and there to give it more interest in there. How are we doing? Everybody caught up? That's funny. This one is not showing up near as well as the one up in the corner because mine here that I'm working on looks pretty nice. But it is funny how the broadcast, the TV doesn't really pick up the exact thing. So I hope yours came out looking well. I'm going to put just a couple movements in here as though they were branches. You can do this as well with your pencil. Don't overdo it. Just put in a little thing here and there. This one is looking much lighter on the screen than what I'm seeing here on my page. I don't know why. Now you can, it makes some things show up, like it'll make the mountains show up. I'll go ahead and do it just so you see the difference here. If I were to mix a very light gray, that's almost similar to the mountain color that I used before. You can come in here and darken this up. And it accentuates the snow-capped mountain, or the glacier-capped mountain. In reality, I think it's a glacier. That was a quick wash with a light gray. I think I'm going to finish up a little bit early today, folks. I keep forgetting to do this, so I'm going to do it this time. First of all, if you peel that tape off slowly, see how I'm peeling it to the side? You always want to do that. If you do this, sometimes it rips paper. So try to do it this way, and it works a lot better. The other thing I do is, for instance, on this time, I started up here, went across, and then put this piece, and then this piece, and then this piece, and that way, when I take it off, I can just go reverse that process, make it easy on myself. I like taping it off because it leaves that nice border on your piece. But then you can also do this. Everybody knows I mat my stuff all the same. So I buy a lot of these mats like this. And then you can put your mat on it and see how it went. See if you like that one or not. And get an idea if you want to lighten, darken, you can go back in and see. I don't have one in particular in mind, but you can go back in and take a little material out of an area, lighten it up a little bit if you like. See, I'll try and do a little bit lighter on this top just so you see. Just to add some movement to that area, get it lit up. You can do the similar thing here on this one. Make it light up. It just depends on the angle of the branch to the sun as to how light or bright or dull it is. Everybody get one done? I don't know what else I was supposed to talk about today, but I think we're going to go out, Sherry and I, for the next week or so, the next few days, and go enjoy the Columbia River. We were at the Columbia River, but further down before, way down at the mouth, at the confluence of the Columbia with the bay, the ocean, and the Lewis and Clark River, all down in that area near Astoria. We were there 3, 4 weeks ago. That was we had a ball down there. All right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got to make something that you're proud of, and keep the pattern. I'm going to put the pattern back up so that you can take a picture of the screen. And let me get to that. You can get your cameras out if you'd like. Let's see here. I love this OBS program because it has all these. It's a little difficult for me to use because of my setting. For instance, I have my mouse on the left-hand side because space is very tight here. And in the little trailer. So, whoa, 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 whoa. What did I do? Oh, I don't need that. I need this, not this. No, no, no. Put the scene back over here where it goes. There we go. Turn the painting off. Boom. And I'm going to give you here the larger sketch again. If you didn't get a chance to photograph it, you can take a picture of that and try it again at your leisure. Maybe you'll come out with one better than mine. Keep trying. Keep painting. Just don't stress about it. Just enjoy the process. It's just a pleasant way to enjoy the day, to enjoy some time. Right. Did everybody get a picture? All right, all you sagebrush sketchers. Hope you had a great time. I'll see you again next Wednesday. Oh, 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 excuse me. Uh, I'm not sure where we'll be next Wednesday. So from here on out, it gets sketchier and sketchier as to whether or not if I miss a broadcast, I apologize. But if I do, it just wasn't possible. But we'll keep trying. If I do miss one, hopefully I'll be back on the